Welcome to another episode of the I Know a Guy podcast. On this episode, I welcome Joe Hancock. Joe's a friend and a marketing guru. You like that terminology? Marketing guru?
Guru.
He's happily married, father of two, and he's going to talk about some really interesting stuff today. So we're going to talk about marketing, but he's going to talk about how he sort of got into the whole industry with Moxie Media, which he owns, he founded, he's the CEO, he's the president, he's the executive director, all the wonderful terminologies. And stick around because he's going to share some tips. Probably not all the tips because otherwise then you may not hire him because you're like, oh, I know how to do it now. Although his equipment's extremely expensive, I think this is very, very beneficial. If you own a business out there and you don't have a huge marketing budget, he might provide some information about how to maybe market yourself and do so in a cost-effective manner. With that said, I do want to tell you that Joe, when I first met him, was a loan originator. He still is, sort of, but he was doing a lot more of that, and then he sort of transitioned, and that's the kind of thing I want to start with. So you were doing mortgages, you were working with buyers, you were working with real estate agents and different folks, probably doing refinances, and you sort of, how does someone pivot? But take me through that industry, how long were you in it and all that, and we'll go to the media stuff.
So I was in mortgage for, well, still technically am. I was in mortgage for 24 years when I started to make this shift. I was doing a lot of marketing, a lot of video marketing, a lot of TikToks, lots of YouTube stuff. I was really diving into digital marketing a few years ago, and 3 or 4 years ago, before COVID, actually, before people started to actually use video to communicate with, I was doing that and starting to learn it and doing it. I was having good success getting clients, and one thing led to another. People were starting to say, hey, can you help me with a video? And I was like, sure. And then the chamber was like, hey, can you help us with our videos? And I was like, sure. And then some, more and more people were like, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? And then as the market, fast forward a little bit, as the market started to go down in the mortgage side, as we all know, rates going up and markets slowing down, I always had an interest in marketing and in video and all that kind of stuff, but I really couldn't pivot out of it because I was doing well in the mortgage industry. So I was like, well, it just doesn't make sense to try to do that. When that slow decline started, I said, I'm going to start learning this stuff and see if I can side hustle it for a little while for fun and see if anybody will actually pay me. So one of the things that I've learned is try to put a product out there and then see if anybody actually will throw money at you for it. Then you know you've got something. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, people were like, hey, yeah, I'll pay you to do that. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So just started to grow it, started to learn it, hours and hours and hours on YouTube, learning, and then taking classes to learn everything there is to know about cameras and all that kind of stuff. And so it just started to grow, and eventually it started to grow faster than mortgage. And then it got to the point where I was making my mortgage income in video. And so I was able to step away from mortgage in essence, but mortgages still come in, mainly because I just had done it for so long. They still come in, and I still have some legacy videos out there, so people still reach out and say, hey, I'd want you to help me. So that's how that still stays alive, but it's nothing I really actively market. I actually have other mortgage companies reach out to me to say, hey, can you help us set up our video setup?
Right. So good information. I need to take a quick timeout pause. Do you notice it smells like barbecue in here?
I do.
Jake, are you seriously tearing up a Boston butt in here right now?
Yeah, I did.
Good Lord. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm going, I'm getting hungry. My stomach's growling over here.
You want something? I can get you something.
I'll get some after we're done. Here's what I want to know. We've talked, and I'm in real estate. I've been in 10 years in July, a decade, right? You guys in the mortgage industry are so easy to blame for everything. You guys get a lot of that.
We do.
Oh, it's the lender. It's the lender. It's the lender. Which the lender then goes, it's the underwriter.
It's the underwriter. It's not me. I'm the fall guy. Yeah.
It's the underwriter. That's got to be tough, though, don't you think? I mean, talk about that part of it, and maybe how you maybe, because right now you're giving stuff people they want and they like. I mean, they get to see videos of themselves and it looks good. Talk about that.
The beauty of the business I'm in now is if I give you something and you're not 100% like it, I can fix it. I can make it to where you like it. This is worst case to say, can we tweak that video or edit it this way? I have control. In the mortgage business, you don't have control. So the originator can bring in a file and can set up a file and have it set up in a certain way, and everything can look perfect, but an underwriter can use underwriter discretion to turn a file down. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. And so you could be right down to the end and your file could get turned down. And and you're done. And there's nothing you can do about it. And you're the fall guy who everybody trusted, and now you're trying to buy a house and you've got $10,000 of non-refundable escrow now because you're past the point, and now you're going to lose that money plus the house, and they have no place to live because you've probably moved.
And everybody's blaming you.
And everybody's pissed at you. And so that's the challenge. And also in the mortgage space, we used to have a thing called a lot of loan officers will say buyers are liars. They would not tell you everything, so you don't find out till you get into it. And then the next thing you know, you have an unqualified buyer trying to buy something they've already locked into contract, and everyone's thinking it's going to happen. But now we've dug into the data, and there's something out there, child support or something that's popping up, or some lien that has showed up on them. They don't qualify anymore. And now you've got a deal that's going south, and now you're in this big nightmare trying to fix it. Secondly, in mortgage, it's not just you working on it. It's processing, closing, underwriting, setup people, appraisers, of course, you got to deal with, and inspectors. And so you're dealing with all these pieces moving around that you don't have any control over, and you got to quarterback it all and hope it's going to work. And sometimes it doesn't. And so you have to have really thick skin to be able to be the guy that says, you're not going to be able to buy the house. We're going to do something different, and be able to do that. That was the thing I loved about the marketing business is I don't have to deal with that. I can solve your problem. We can make it happen.
Right.
We can deliver quality service. And I'm 100% in control of it. It's all on me. It's on my back end. I underwrite my stuff. I edit my stuff. I do my stuff. When I was in mortgage, I really wanted to control it from start to finish if I could. I really didn't want a processor. I didn't want to deal with a closer. I didn't want to deal with all those pieces. I said, I can do these pieces if you just let me do them, because then I know it can get done. Because sometimes you hand off stuff to a processor, and then they're reaching out to a borrower and saying, hey, I need to get these documents. Well, I've already got them, and they've already been put in the file, but the processor never looked at it. So now they're calling the borrower, and the borrower's going, I gave that to Joe. And now you look bad. And so, or you can have a file go all the way perfect, beautiful, a beautiful file, everything through underwriting, clear to close. Closer gets the file, and the closer to Yahoo, and does a really bad job of getting documents on time and balancing and doing all the other stuff, and can do what we call close ugly. So now you've had a great file, you've done really well, and at the very end, you have someone who's not really good at their job ruin it for you. And that is the mortgage business.
That's tough.
And a lot of my buddies in it deal with that all the time. And I dealt with it all the time. And that was the challenge of it. It's always hard to keep that quality of service at a ultimate stellar side. You can do it. My dream in the mortgage business was to kind of create the cruise ship experience, which would be great if you could control it all. But if you can't control it all and you're having to lean on B and C players, it's challenging.
So if you remind me, so a few years ago now, I've been in the real estate business, right? So I know how it works. I know how to fill out my own contracts, documents, what to turn in, what doesn't. So I'm buying this house and with my wife, and I won't throw anybody under the bus, but I know a processor that got the information, so that they didn't even have to ask for it. I said, here's all the documents you're going to need. And it's my past 2 years tax returns. It's my last 2 pay stubs. It's my balance sheet with my or profit and loss and all that stuff in my business. It literally had probably 15 documents in there, right?
Yeah.
I send it off, and actually not only in there, they're not in one PDF. I had divided them up and individually named them in separate PDF documents so they'd have everything so they can check all their boxes. We get 3 days before closing, they go, hey, we got documents you still need to get us.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, what are those? And they started telling me. I said, yeah, I have them. And here's, I know how the process works because I've done it for so many years working with buyers myself, and being one myself, I had them in a folder on my desktop, so all I do is click and drop. But I said I send it on this date at this time.
Yep.
And then I said, but here you go again, and here's everything, and send it back over. So it does happen. But so then you start, so while you're doing the mortgage stuff, you actually transition. You mentioned you start kind of making yourself the digital mortgage guy, right?
Correct.
And you start to really start to do this marketing. And then you came to my office and was talking to me about, hey, well, Ben, you guys could do this, and here's some tips and things. But you really are leaps and bounds past where you were just, I'd say, 36 months ago, I think. You've got a great and extensive knowledge about it, but so now you've got Moxie Media,
Yep.
right? And you've got all this fancy equipment. I think it's fancy, but you don't have to have that necessarily.
Correct. You can do a lot with this right here. I mean, this is a 15, so it's got all the best cameras on it, but going all the way back to an 11, you can still do a lot with the 11, the iPhone 11, and then, of course, the Androids have great cameras. And you can get apps on here like the Black Magic app you can put on here. Will give you full control of your cameras, just like the best cameras you have. And so you can control them to the point to where they really are dynamic and can do almost what the high dollar mirrorless cameras can do. I've created videos just on testing for fun with my high level stuff versus that, and I could put them side by side. I can spot it because I can look for certain things. I can guarantee you most people will never spot it. Will never spot it.
Well, check out. So we got a picture up here right now, but there's a video. Jake, we'll try and pull that video. I want to see. Tell me how you did this. Tell me about this trip. So you went to Puerto Rico?
Oh yeah,
recently.
Yep.
Had some customers say, "Hey, we're going to send you down, fly you down there."
Yeah, we were covering the Salsa Fest, which was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun down there, and it's fun to go travel and be able to do the stuff you actually like to do.
So you enjoy it. I mean,
Yeah.
you enjoy it, and so then you're going to get paid for to go on a trip
Yep.
to do what you love to do.
Yeah.
And cover cool stuff.
Is the video behind us?
So yeah, Jake's got technical difficulties here. If you'll take the mouse and hover at the top left and hit minimize on that picture, the video will be behind it.
Well, you didn't tell me.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't tell you, but it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I got a feeling we're going to be changing some things up here in the studio, Joe. There's the video. Oh, expand it first. Check this out. So this is the trip. You posted this online, I think Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. Here we go. All access.
Yeah, all access.
That's cool.
We were able to go everywhere, full everywhere, and they fed us and gave us all the behind the scenes, everything. I got to meet a bunch of people I didn't know who they were, but I met a lot of people.
Did you meet people that were like, "Hey, this person's like very popular"?
They were
down
like,
here,
"This
you know?
person won 6 Grammys," and I'm like,
Huh?
"Oh, that's awesome." I don't know who you
that's
are,
cool.
but this is great.
That video, how'd you do that one? Was that with mirrorless camera? Or was
So that was a mix. So some of
Okay.
those shots were done with a Canon mirrorless camera, and then some of them were done with the phone. And so but the beauty of my phone or of my camera is I can put it onto my phone and I can actually edit right on my phone. So I can transfer all the stuff I shoot. Like, for example, I was filming last night Tip-A-Cop and I did everything on the camera. But so I got the best quality so I could get everything in and have the, because it was dark. So we want to get all the stuff. We're not having to use, well, I'll explain that in a second. But basically, I got the best quality, and I can just edit it in Video Leap or CapCut right on my phone, and we get it right up instantly. So that was the beauty of being able to do stuff fast.
CapCut, Video Leap are apps that people can use.
Those are apps that you can get, and you can just you download them, and you can film some stuff and put it together and add some music and have you a nice little video pretty quickly and easily.
So my experience in this marketing stuff sort of goes back 20 years. You could not. I was in print media, right? Selling advertising, and then our graphic artist got sick. And being a small business, we didn't have a choice, but I had to start doing some of the ad design, and I'd never done it, working with Photoshop and whatnot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have some experience using those programs. But other businesses out there, that other news media or video to cable, to have someone put together a commercial was like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Like
That's the
so
reason
expensive.
that's the reason I started Moxie originally. Is Moxie was going to be a support engine for mortgage. That was the design. It was going to support the mortgage and my mortgage business, and because I had reached out to other videographers, and then was in shell shock when they were like, "It's $5,000 to do a 1-minute video," and I went, "I need 20 of those," and so I'm like, I can't do that. So I said, I got to start learning this stuff and figuring out a way to do it cost effectively myself. Once I got into it, then I realized why they charged $5,000. I was like, holy crap, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of editing. There's a lot of balancing. You've got to do all these things. The equipment costs a fortune. And all of a sudden, it was like a wake-up call. But all right, I see why they're charging this, but it's still not cost-effective for realtors or for anyone to do this. That's not a bigger business where you're like, I want a branding video or something like that. And so as time has come by, there has been better and better apps. There's more and more AI. There's more and more ways to do it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So now you can get it where it's affordable to do. But that's why at the time I created Moxie, was to do that. But then so many people were like, hey, you're producing a lot of volume. Can you help us out? So I designed systems to be affordable to be able to do it, but I had to figure out fast ways of doing it to be able to make it worth me to do it. Because if I have to sit there and do all the color balancing and everything else that you do, because if you're shooting, depends on what you're shooting. Because if you shoot in what's called log, then you actually come in and actually place each color into the video and create the video and make it look a certain way. That's how you get that cinematic look and all the other.
Okay, so what I was going to ask you, what application who would do that? That would be like Hollywood or something?
Well, Hollywood is where that all comes from, and we use like apps or software like DaVinci Resolve, where if you film, for example, in what's S-Log, which is a Sony, well, it's called a log file. If you see it raw, it looks gray, like the video looks like that. And so when it comes in to the editing, you can start adding color to it to create it to the way you want it to look.
So you can add a different color from
You can make it anything you want.
Wow.
And so like I could color the shirt a certain color, and I could color the background a certain way and make a whole different look than what the actual colors are there. But Log actually retrieves all the data, and then you're able to pull that out and create whatever you want. And
so you're telling me like that shirt right there, you could go on there, color it. I get that you can color in for a picture, but you're telling me for videos they can color it and it'll stay that color?
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with it, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of that stuff costs so much money.
You're saying log, like L-O-G?
Yeah.
Do you know where that comes from?
No, I don't know where LOG comes.
I'm having flashbacks here to college.
Yeah.
To pre-calc, I think. Jake? No, college. Algebra 1. College algebra. What do you call it? What's algebra called in college? It's there's a college algebra. Is that
College
it?
algebra.
Maybe that's
Intermediate
it.
algebra.
Whatever it is. All I know. You say intermediate?
Yeah, there's a class called intermediate.
I know that. I was in it, and I was also in the two prep classes before that. I really was, but I actually got A's in it, a B in college algebra. But there's like, you ever heard of logarithm?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what those are bad flashbacks because I have zero clue what it means, and I'm wondering if it had something to do with that at all. Maybe not, but
I don't know. Actually, I don't know because there's C-Log, which is the Canon's version, and S-Log, and so those are log files. You can actually do Apple Log on your phone. So I can film in what's called ProRes, which is Apple Log, and actually edit the way I can with my mirrorless cameras. These things are accelerating so fast that in the next 5 years, my feeling is these are going to pretty much replace the mirrorless cameras.
Really?
Because the advancements they're doing right now, it's all computer generated. So what these things simulate compared to a mirrorless camera, it's simulation because their sensors are very small. A full frame sensor is large, captures a lot of data. Think of it as like a big eyeball. These have tiny eyeballs, so they can only catch a little bit of data. So they have to have a computer inside to alter it to make it look using, what we could call AI to give you the blurry background and that kind of stuff. And that's why if you see a blurry background off of a phone versus a camera, if you look at it closely, you can actually see part of you is blurry because it's trying to give you that, but it's not giving you it sharply. And also, if you blow it up on bigger screens, it starts to pixelate out. That's why they've created Apple, the Apple Log and some of the ProRes to give it a higher level. But you can't, if you do that, you can't record it on here. You have to actually have an external drive to be able to record it to. It's so much data.
Wow.
And so eventually the technology is going to get to the point where these things will be able to catch up to them, to those cameras, and then you'll be able to do everything on here. But for the average small business or the average realtor or average loan officer, if you master this thing, you can do a lot with just this and not even a mic. You honestly could just do it just with this. And then you can increase it later with a light and maybe a little mic, like a newer, there's like a new, called a newer, N-E.
Yep.
So newer mic, you can add that on. It's $139 and you'll get solid. Yeah, there you go. N-E-E.
Can we do a promo here on Newer? Newer, if you're listening to this podcast.
We would like sponsorship, please.
Moxie would like it. I know a guy podcast would like it. All my lighting is Newer. And I don't mean newer as in the age. I mean newer as in the brand. Okay?
We use Newer a lot. But you can get that and be able to create a lot of your stuff. What I find is people...
You talk about perform.
What I find is people that use me will have me coach them on how to do things on their own, and then they'll push a lot to me to kind of edit it and tweak it and make it look right.
So I feel like I know more than 1% at least of all people who that would want to engage in this stuff. Like I have a pretty good. I'm not on your level, but I'm more advanced than most people when it comes to the technology, and it's still not easy, and it still takes time, and it's time consuming, and especially when it comes to the marketing part, like constantly trying to be out there as a business, trying to always keep something out there in front of people and the different ways to do it. And one technique I've noticed that you've done is, hey, I'm going to go shoot the videos with my phone. I think it's your phone. And then I'm going to go back afterwards and do a voiceover, which sounds really, really crisp. Which, are you using a special microphone, or is that just the phone's mic?
That's the phone's mic.
See, and it's really nice. It's quiet, and it is sharp. It is sharp, and it's
So you find your mic, you hold it like this, and you've got it, and you've got what you need. But yeah, those little mini vlogs actually that I do get a ton of direct messages to me, like a ton. It was kind of like my old TikToks back in the day. I got a lot of activity on those. And so those little mini vlogs, believe it or not, actually are some of my best return on time that I get, because people are interested. People naturally are voyeuristic. They want to see what you're doing, but they don't want to see what you're doing for a very long time. So I try to keep it a minute or less of just quickly of what I did during the day, and it's amazing how many people are interested in just seeing that.
Of course, I enjoy it. I enjoy following it, and especially that video you did in Puerto Rico, because was it Puerto Rico, right?
That was Puerto Rico, yeah.
Okay. Just to see something new, and it's it was like Facebook, right? At first it's text, hey, what are you doing today? And I did this, and then it's pictures.
Yep.
And now it's videos, and now it's videos that are more impressive with music and now captions, words, things like that. And so those apps like CapCut and all those do those captions for you?
Yeah, CapCut will throw captions in there for you. Used to, back just 2 years ago, we had to add those manually, word by word.
24 months ago?
Yeah, just 2 years ago.
Wow.
That was all manual. And then Adobe came out where they could auto do it. And then there was other apps you could do. Oh, you can upload the file and then it'll convert it. So it was the steps. And then apps started rolling out. Like Captions is a great app that you can get. It's called Captions, and it literally makes captions for your videos. And it just listens to you, and you just edit them, because it doesn't get it 100% right. But it's pretty close. And then, of course, you want to size it and do little tweaks. There's always little stuff you have to do. But like you said, it is time consuming. That's the challenge. But if you want to get into digital marketing, you got to be consistent on it. The thing that I've seen with a lot of people that do it is they'll do a little bit and then
stop.
They don't get a result right away. And they're like, oh, it just doesn't work. It does, but you got to do it for a long time.
Yeah. You did pictures for a house that I listed, a very nice listing. And so I was at a conference. No, I was at an event doing live auction stuff. And I'm sitting down with this guy. He's a big photographer. He's got this huge lens and stuff. I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, yeah, I'm from L.A. And He flies around with this organization and does their conferences and does pictures. He's also done some really nice houses in L.A. For real estate. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool and whatever. I said, I have a guy I use, and he's like telling me that Illustrator or Photoshop has this AI tool built in, at least the updated version, where you can kind of sort of select your background and tell it what you want to put there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that house that you listed, a house. So basically it's this nice farm style house. It's like 4,000 square feet under a roof, beautiful green grass, beautiful blue sky. And I started selecting it. And by the time I was done, I had a mountain that looked like the Matterhorn.
Yep.
I had buffaloes laying in the front yard. Like I'm literally just typing, put a mountain here with snow, and mountain it does its whole rendering thing or whatever you call it. And there it is.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Text-based text-based AI, you can make it almost do anything you want.
That's insane. What do you have here, Jake?
So since we're kind of on the topic of production, me and Ben have been on the hunt for high quality production for the podcast, basically since we started it. And I've always thought the gold standard for podcast production was this guy named Chris Williamson. And I want you to sort of break down from an outsider's perspective what they're doing here.
And if you're watching at home, we'll
Jimmy
turn,
Carr,
we'll put
welcome
the
to the
camera
show.
on.
Thank you very much. I'm a big fan of it. I'm kind of nervous about talking to you.
So we don't get copyright striked.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look at this. I mean, it's cinematic. It's pretty. It's crisp.
Camera's not on.
Yeah, they've got
Number
several.
3.
Yeah, they've got several cameras going.
There you go.
And
I see.
yeah, so they're for one, they're filming in 24 frames.
How do you know that?
And because I can see the way he looks, I can tell you it's 24 frames a second right now.
Well, what am I filming then?
And what does that mean? for
So
the
that
layman?
means you're gonna see how it looks like what you see on TV.
Yeah.
So that's what your eye films in,
Okay.
and so that's why you see it look like that. So it's more of what you see on TV.
It looks better than like my eyesight, basically.
Yeah.
Like he looks clearer than you do right now.
Yeah, so that's what they're filming in there. They're also, if you notice how quickly they're shifting back and forth, about every 8-9 seconds. There's some kind of shift that they're doing that keeps your interest in what they're talking about. So they're constantly moving the camera. They're doing zoom ins and zoom outs, and so by doing that, that's also keeping you engaged. They've got at least 3 cameras going. They probably have maybe 4 or 5, but they got at least 3 cameras. They got a wide angle camera and they got 2 cameras on each person, and they're all color matched. Every single one of them are color matched, so they all look alike. So because if you have multi cameras and you're not color matched, then when it switches from one camera to the other, it's jarring to you.
So what happens to us here is when you come back, so there's 2 lights right now, and both of them are facing you.
Yeah.
So you're going to look really good. It'll be crystal clear. But me, I'll be red. I don't have a light on me. I forget who I was talking to you about this before, because my lighting's not where it needs to be. So usually the guest is really clear, and I look like I'm pissed off or something. That's what.
Lighting is huge, and there's a lot of theory in light that you can use. A good friend of mine that's really good at lighting, he'll throw a light directly above on a dome light, and it will actually illuminate both guests really well, and then you'll have a good clean look to it.
I mean, we're not exactly where they are.
Well, there you go. There I am, red and mad. Mm-hmm. And here's look at Joe. Nice. Oh, he's a nice guy.
Yep.
Jerk.
Yeah, breaking the fourth
Nice
wall
guy.
here a bit, but
So talk about the Beast. Is it the Beast or Mr. Beast?
Mr. Beast, yeah.
So you followed him. You've done. So what's important? I think anybody listening needs to know that you're not just like you've learned stuff on your own, but you've also been studying this stuff.
Yeah, I've been studying it for a while. Like Mr. Beast, when you go into, like if you're going to create YouTube videos, right, for example, a great tip, just a simple, quick tip for you. You'll notice a lot of videos you'll watch on YouTube is someone will say, how to adjust your mic. And then there's an intro, little video and stuff like that comes in there. Go right to it. Because as soon as your little intro video comes on, they've already moved on. And so, because if you notice one of the successes of Mr. Beast is they're telling you the end result right away. They're telling you what you're going to learn. And then they go right into the steps of what's about to happen, and then they go into the show. There's no intro. There's no that's the intro.
So, for example, just do an example. Okay, so in college and even high school, they teach you in English, right, that you have a sandwich, and when you write a story, you have your intro, then you have your meat, and then you wrap it up.
Yeah.
And so in video or in YouTube videos, people say, "Hi, today we're going to talk about how to make spaghetti and meatballs, and then we're going to talk about how to clean your dishes off, and then we're going to talk about this." And you're saying, go straight to it.
Straight to it. Because you have literally probably a second now. It used to be 3 seconds, but now you pretty much have anywhere from just short of a second to a second to catch them because of the speed of the scroll. And
Not
so
for
you
podcast mediums. Though.
podcast is a little different,
Yeah.
but you still want to have it, whatever you're coming across with, in that first 3 seconds, you need to say something that's going to be what the listener's wanting to hear at the end. You need to hear that instantly, otherwise you are going to move.
Let me address this podcast thing that he just talked about. It's very important because you and I don't want to say we bump heads on this, but we do, to the point where I would like us to be the pre-match before Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Okay?
Interesting. On the
Yeah.
prelims?
Yeah, I went there. And here's why.
Oh, okay.
No, so I've listened to the different podcasts out there, some different ones, right? I actually like Megyn Kelly's. I've listened to Joe Rogan. I'm not sitting there for 2 hours and listening to a podcast and being focused on it. A lot of people, I don't think, do that. I think it's a background noise. They put it on, and then special clips you can pull out, and then people listen. Okay, that's an interesting part of the podcast segment. But I have a hard time believing, with everybody's attention deficit issues in this country, and reels and stories and scrolling, they're sitting there going, I'm listening to this guy talk for 3 hours. It's not like it's highly entertaining. There are clips and pieces. Here's what happens. Here's how the media works. The View goes out there. The women sit up on a panel. They say a bunch of crap. Joe Rogan talks to somebody about it. Fox News grabs and says, Joe Rogan said this about that. It just creates lots of highlights and clips, but the actual whole video is actually, I don't think, really anything special. It's the clips that come out of it, the segments.
The clips are, if you look at what really engages people, it is the clips. I mean, I personally, because I try to look at what I do and try to figure out what I'm doing so I can try to make it work for me. I watch clips all the time because that's like you were just saying,
here.
It's the meat. It's like, okay, I just saw a little clip, and the only time I've actually spun into the podcast is when they've cut the clip a little short and it's something I want to really learn about. Then I'll track the podcast down. And so that's the only times I've really tracked it all the way down. But if the clip gives me the complete answer, then I'm done with the podcast. That's as far as I go, is on the clip. So it's just, usually it's mostly entertaining for me. I'll look at it, I'll watch it, but it's only been a handful of times. It's been more technical stuff because they're talking about something technical I want to learn, not gossipy or funny or something like that. It's more technical. It's like I've watched some technical podcasts where they have clips and he's talking about, here's how I set up my camera. We'd go into this. I'm like,
What was that?
That's
Right?
that. So then you go down into the thing, you click it, and you can go into the actual podcast. And I've watched it then.
So I'll say this: if it's a guest that you really, really want to hear and like, then I can understand you want to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
For everything they're going to say, but just I don't know that I follow anybody and just watch and listen. I mean, I've listened, like I told Jake a million times, I've listened to talk radio my whole life.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to it in my office. I just listen to it when I'm in the car, and I turn it on and I turn it off. And sometimes they have a great story they're talking about, and I sit in the car with the AC on in the parking lot a little bit longer. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, that's boring, and got out.
How are YouTube views calculated? Is a view collected if it's from start to finish, or is it like someone clicks on the video, you can watch it for 5 seconds, that counts as a view?
The view, there was a bunch of different ways they were calculating that before. I'd have to look at the way they're doing it now. It used to be a full view. Then they gave you partial, where they were giving a partial of the view.
Oh.
But I have to look at the algorithm and see, or
I say that because Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
He did that podcast with Cat Williams.
I watched almost all of it.
Right. I think it's at like 40 million views now. It's like a 3-4 hour podcast.
Yeah, I don't think the views are calculating the full view anymore. They used to way back, but then they started giving you like it's like a certain credit of amount of view, and then they have their calculations on how you make money on that, and that's all.
We're close. We're gonna be making money soon, Jake. We're over 1,000 subscribers.
Hey, you're in monetary world.
I know, and then and there's a minimum of minutes that you have had to watch. I think it's like 4,000. I could be wrong. It may be more. Like we're like way over that because we have that. We have. What's funny, Jake?
I'm just thinking about how we need to get our Cat Williams. We need to make this like Shannon Sharp's show. We get who's the local Cat Williams that we can bring in that will expose all the dirt on.
I actually know somebody. So here's my thought on that. I am careful not to get down in the dirt and the mud too much. However, it's possible I just do it, but I bring somebody in, and because I've got a friend of mine who's like a huge conspiracy theorist. Like every time I say something, like, yeah, the bridge collapsed. Did you notice that the lights went off just before this happened?
Is he in this building?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying names, Jake. I'm not going there. And so, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And so then I'm like, no, I didn't notice that. And I said, I don't think it was a conspiracy. Oh, you don't? No, I don't think so. Because actually they said Mayday and they shut down the bridge and there weren't many people on the bridge at all. Oh, okay. And then it's like 9/11. It's like everything's a conspiracy and JFK. Okay, I'm not saying things haven't happened and it's not plausible. Is everything? Oh, you don't hear what's going on with the?
Are you saying that if you
don't
play
hear what's going on
devil's
with
advocate, then you won't really catch the heat from controversial guests?
Oh, I mean,
If you sort of play the straight man, you can sort of let them fly.
Look, here's the deal. For some reason, my moral compass doesn't find it appropriate to dirty people up, even though I may not like somebody, or because I have dirt. It's not my forte.
But if you don't do it, if you bring someone else to do it,
Then I'm not a part of it.
Hey.
Maybe.
You just deform.
So I'm trying to find a way to blur. So we have a feature on this board here, right, that can make your voice go, "Hey, welcome." Is it?
You can do.
You gonna try? I think it's the top one or one of those. It's either one of the purple.
Is it this one right here? Joe Hancock's on the podcast. It is. I'm disguising
My voice, right? Yeah. So that whole thing, like, and get somebody out here talking, and they don't really. I used to do that a lot on the news things. They blacken the person out.
Yeah.
And they're saying stuff. Now they just go anonymous sources.
Source, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, but where are we? Marketing, media. Joe was talking about podcasts, and Jake's talking about podcast. The Cat Williams one was interesting. I talked to a friend about it, and he said it's bull. He thinks it's all crap, and it's all. I don't know. Cat did have my attention though.
What's bullcrap? Like all the dirt that he was.
Yeah,
The dirt that he was laying out?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Like
some of the
P.
stuff.
Diddy and the
Well, he's saying
male
why are you,
actors wearing dresses as a humiliation ritual.
listen.
Type of thing.
There have been things, and I know this P. Diddy thing's real big in the news right now, right? There have been undertones for many, many years, and there's this guy just came out. He came out in the 90s. He was on Oprah, I think it was, and he was sort of crucified for having... No, it was Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters was interviewing him, and he was saying that there were some huge, huge names in Hollywood that were pedophiles. And he goes on, and I know we digress from Moxie Media, and I apologize. And Barbara Walters sort of like, you're accusing people of stuff. And he goes, I am. He said, and I can tell you one thing. He goes, Michael Jackson isn't one of them. Like, he knew Michael Jackson. He goes, he's not one of them. But he had been assaulted by, and it's all coming out now in the last like 48 hours. Saw this guy's name. They're like, oh, he wasn't lying when he was 30 years old about what happened to him as a child actor or whatnot. So I don't know.
It's amazing how some of this stuff is like stuff we've seen in the past, and things have slowly are now coming to fruition. You're like, oh, wait a minute, that was true.
Joe, I was in the Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, 5 years ago. Okay, and we're on St. Thomas Island. We're not on a cruise, so we're staying on the island, which was awesome. We had to we were getting on a ferry to go over to St. John Island, so we drive our little rental van on the ferry, and then we go upstairs and sit with staff or people who are working while we go across. And this guy, we're talking, and you see this island out in the distance, right? And I'm like, that's cool. He's like, yeah, that's where the royals go. That's the pedophiles island. I'm
Look like the Nickelodeon logo.
The island? I don't know.
That's the whole conspiracy. The Nickelodeon logo is Epstein's Island.
Interesting.
No, I'm
Well-
gonna have to look at the logo.
Yeah, I do too.
Show you.
Yeah, pull it up.
Keep going though.
So yeah. So he's like, that's the Royals go there. He says the Royals go there, and I'm like, that's cool. And the guy's a pedophile who owns the island. I'm like, what? He never said the name, and it just didn't come up. And
Yeah.
I said, do people know who he is? And does he ever come on the island in St. Thomas? And he said, a local.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, they do. He says he comes on the island and people can't stand him. And I'm like, okay. So then when the Epstein thing happens a couple years ago, whenever it broke, I'm like,
You said
Oh.
5 years ago?
huh?
He died like 5 years ago.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
I was on the island in 2017 when this guy told me this.
Okay, so that was more than 5 years ago.
It was 6.
It was 7.
It's 2024 minus 2017 is 7.
Gotcha.
You did. You did. I'm not going to lie there now.
I mean, it
Time flies when you're having fun.
I tell you,
Islands.
there's so much that we don't even know, you know. And a few years ago, actually, Crystal pulled me out of. I used to be real political online, and the Crystal's the one. that
Oh,
pulled-
really?
She's pulled me out of it. She said, "You're not being you, and you're getting angry all the time." So holy cow, you're right.
You're absolutely right. I did not know that.
Yeah, it kind of looks exactly like the
Wow.
island.
That's
Even that little dot right there.
okay.
Too bad you can't pull up a map of that whole area.
More conspiracy stuff.
Don't show us.
It says it's fake. It says it's fake.
Yeah,
Did it say it was fake?
It says it's fake. Fact check.
That's Snopes on. Yeah, I've actually I've only done a little bit of politics online. I've done only like a local person I really
Yeah.
support, and that's it. I don't do national stuff on there.
I
don't-
stay out of national, and because national's so, to be honest, just so fake and BS, and it's just a power play, and there's not much I can do about it. So I decided to make myself hyper local, business wise and everything.
Yep.
And I said I can impact my little world here. National will impact us to a certain degree, but us here in Alachua, I'm just going to focus on what I have here and what I'm doing here and how I have an impact here and what I can do in my little world, because there's nothing I can do about the Ukraine. There's nothing I can do about what Biden's doing or Trump's doing or any of that stuff. It's just what it is. And you know, there are things that impact me. I mean, when they changed how health insurance was done and all that kind of stuff, that impacted me because impacted all of us, because now we don't have health care anymore.
Sure.
And so, but other than that, most of the stuff that doesn't affect me. So I gave up on it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough area because for me, and maybe this has been the way for a lot of people. I've said this a while back that people are like, oh, usually I just walk into the polls and I hold my nose and pick the least. I've never felt that way until now. I've
Yeah.
never actually felt that way. I've always been kind of cool, like, hey, this is who I want to win. I'm watching at night, and now I feel that way. I'm like, eh.
Yeah, when I grew up, we respected the president and we respected all that stuff.
Regardless of political party,
regardless
right?
of political party, and we teach our kids that still. You know, we even, you know, because Biden's not my favorite selection at all. But if my kids say who's president, it's Joe Biden, we respect him, and da da da. And even when my daughter saw that Kamala was the VP, she was like, she actually goes, "Oh, I can be president one day then, huh?" I was like, "You sure can." And I didn't down her or say anything negative about her or anything like that, even though I have my own thoughts. So I'm not plugging that into them.
I wonder if our country could go back to sort of some of that. It's gotten so toxic in the media.
It's so sensationalized now, and it's so, because there's so much money being made in it because of the entertainment value of it, which is really what it is, which started in, 96 roughly, when this really started to shift. And it's gone so far now to where I think now I think it's too far gone. It's going to have to take some kind of a major overhaul, because I never thought, when I was a kid and back in the 80s, we used to make fun of the Russian media. We would see clips of it and say, man, look at how fake that is. It's so clearly obvious. We have that now,
Yeah,
you know, because I don't watch the news at all,
same here.
at all. And not even local news, nothing. I don't watch any of it. But when I do see it, it's so blatantly obvious to me now that how it just looks like that Russian media I used to watch and laugh at. I'm like, wow, since I have no reliability of any of that anymore. And so it's so far gone that even I think the well-meaning ones that want to get in get corrupted, and they have to start playing the game to be able to get anything done.
Sure.
And be able to who's donating to you to get you there and the amount of money it takes, and it's a sad situation, unfortunately.
Well, part of the issue, media is supposed to be a watchdog.
Yep.
And I think at the national level, there's still enough money, and I think there's probably people trying to be the watchdogs that aren't a part of the major networks that are just trying to meet a certain agenda. But I know on the local level, and this was print media, and this is cable, video, the local news stations, the newspapers were the ones who sent the reporters to all the meetings and the events and stuff. And they would run a story. And the radio station, this is not hearsay, this is fact. The radio stations would get the paper, and this became their, in the city of XYZ, this is happening, and blah, 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 blah. And the news media, they don't have it. It's always the newspapers. The print media is the one that had the investigative journalists that were following these stories. And I get it. It's very difficult. If you're a news station, you're trying to do 3 or 4 broadcasts a day.
Yeah.
If you're a newspaper, if you're daily, and you see the daily papers are on their way out, and they're now cutting off stuff, and now we're just going to be digital. Well, not only are they digital, but they're now trying to just use interns who are trying to get journalism degrees at different universities and colleges just to run their publication. Those are the people who are writing these stories. And what do they know? What do they really know about anything? And that's no disrespect to them. I'm not talking about where the apostrophe goes and what's capitalized. But what do you know about the community that you're covering? And so trying to sift through into podcasts and online medias, like the reason I like Megyn Kelly is because I liked her when she was actually on Fox News.
Yeah.
And then she was gone. And I liked her when she was on NBC. I feel like she's honest until I'm told otherwise or hear otherwise. And so trying to find someone who will just sift through it and give me the truth versus the same regurgitated crap that's on cable news today.
Yeah,
So-
it's all. I see it. Crystal was a journalism major.
Okay.
So I learned some things from her, and how when she looks at current journalism and if she reads something, she's like, "This is not journalistic. This is opinion." And to be journalistic, you have no opinion.
That's right.
It's a factual dig, and so if you read anything, almost anything you see is opinion. So if it's opinion, it's not journalism. And so that's the hardest thing to find is actual true objectivity, to have a non-biased look and say, here's what the facts are, here's what's being done. There you go. Not at the end, I think this, or a sway.
Sure.
And that's the hardest part with this whole media thing is getting people who are willing to put their personal preferences aside and write an objective piece that digs into something to give you real information. It's hard to find that. And
So-
it's sad that we actually have to fact check the ones we should not have to fact check. And that's sad.
So years ago, and I told you I was in print media, right? And I created relationships in a local small town. I won't tell you where this small town is. You probably could figure it out, but it's not the one you're in right now. It was a neighboring town, and I had a relationship with the police chief, friendship, and a friendship with the second in command of that group and the organization, and they both didn't like each other. And one would call me up and go, hey, meet me down this dirt road. And I'd go down this long dirt road because even though I was doing advertising, I would get the information and feed it to the editorial side. And I got the information. Like, okay, cool, thank you. And then the chief would say his piece. It's like, okay. And I would just listen. I'm not telling you, I'm talking to who and what I'm doing. No, okay, thank you. You called me. We have a friendship. And so I provide the information. About 6 months later, after different articles are written, the lieutenant says, I can't stand your paper. You guys are a piece of crap liars, and I can see you're in the pocket of the chief. I saw the chief. The chief says, I can't stand you guys. I can tell you're in his pocket too. I'm like, what the heck? That must mean something's being done right. That you're not trying. You should.
You're not swaying it.
You're not trying to. Hey, here's the story, and here's what's out there, and it's just. we'll see what happens. So let me ask you a question. Back to the media stuff, right? Where do you see this going? Give me some advice in terms of if someone's trying to build their company. Historically, you've always gotten out in the community, you get involved, and that's still there, right?
Yes, it is. You're still there. So the way to look at digital media, a good, easy way to do it, is envision yourself as the digital mayor of your area. And so how do you do that? You are on the platform consistently and on a regular basis where people consistently can see you no matter what. Don't get so focused on how many people viewed it, how many people are, if you're going live, how many people are actually looking at you. By the way, tip, if you are going on live, do not sit there and wait for people to get on. Because you're just staring at your phone. And don't worry if people aren't on right now, because when you save it to your profile, people will watch it later, or they'll watch some of it. It's impressions. Some people may not even hear what you say, but if they're seeing you on a constant basis, think of it as a billboard. When you pass Morgan and Morgan or
right.
Allen Law or any of them, you see them all the time. That's impressioning in your head. And so it's the same thing online. So using digital media in addition to going and networking and doing what you're doing, marketing-wise, can help expand your market. Because if you get 200 views, which is not a massive amount, so you get 200 views on something, that's 200 eyeballs that saw you.
Mm-hmm.
When you go networking at an event, you may meet 10 people that you actually talk to, but then actually make an impact on. Maybe 20. And so,
that's moving around the room.
And that's moving around the room.
Yeah.
Where you've got something that had 200 views today, maybe 100 views tomorrow, or like some of my YouTube videos 4 years later, getting people to call me.
And you just shared that earlier that people are still calling you from your videos.
Correct. Yeah, the one I had yesterday. Saw the video I did on USDA in Alachua. And so they called me up, said, hey, I want to buy a house using the USDA product. Cool. That was a 4-year-old video. So that is the thing with video and with digital marketing and digital. You don't have to, it's an organic reach. There's strategies to do a paid reach, and you can get a lot further, and there's a lot, but you got to have some pockets to do that. But if you just pick up your phone and be consistent about it, that's the thing that can help you. And the challenge is a lot of businesses are so wrapped up into their day-to-day of what they're doing every single day that they don't feel like they have time, or like, what am I going to even say?
Right.
And so, like, for example, if we're right here, right now, right when we came in, I filmed us doing something real quick, because I'm going to add that to a vlog later of where I was and what I did. If you don't want to make a vlog and you just want to make a quick post, you could literally take a picture. I'm sitting across from Ben right now. That's it. That's all you have to do. Simple stuff like that gets people's attention. And that just keeps you consistently in people's face, so they see you more. And so the more you engage online, the more you can kind of create yourself as a digital mayor of your area. People look at you and understand that you are the local expert in whatever you are. It can be anything, it could be mowing lawns, which is a grand opportunity there, especially leading into this season. And there's so many things you can just do. You just have to pick up your phone. The phone, this is the most powerful thing that you could have. I mean, you think about advertising and marketing and doing things you had to do back in the 90s. You didn't have it. It is easy now.
Yeah.
It is easy now. And when I started in the mortgage business in 1998, it was going and seeing realtors and trying to get them to trust you to do a loan, and trying to go out and postcards and meeting people and doing all this stuff. It was who you could physically meet. Now all you got to do is create a massive amount of digital media, and people will just start finding you.
People have a hard time sometimes getting in front of the camera, though. They're
You don't have to do that. You don't have to say it. So, for example, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do any of that. Fine. Take a picture of Ben, and I'm going to post that. I was here. Take a picture of what's in here. These were cool. I like those pictures. I like that. Check this out. He put a picture of me up there. I'm not in any of that.
Gotcha. But it's content.
It's all content that I've generated, and you can just real simple stuff like that. And that just starts keeping you consistent. Now, it's kind of not deep, There's nothing deep to that, but it gets you in front. And if you have a business, you want to, like, if I'm making I make eyeglasses. So I'm going to take a picture. Let's say you don't want to do videos. So I'm going to take a picture of this is the starting process of building my eyeglasses. And then here's the second process. We put these on. Here's how we did that. And just type it out and just put, you got a picture of it. Now people are going, oh, wow, I didn't know how they made those glasses. Now I know how they made the glasses. It's whatever you do, share it, because you know it.
Yep.
The people that you sell to don't know it. People love behind the scenes. My most popular are the vlogs and behind the scenes.
I love that stuff.
Yeah,
What
because
the
they want
heck's-
to see how it's done.
Absolutely, it's very interesting because
Yeah.
everybody sees when it's out front of you,
Yeah.
but behind what the processes are. Jake, I want to give you a quick shout out. He just got in the University of Florida. What are you doing? Philosophy or something?
Philosophy.
Nice.
Jake's a deep thinker, Joe. A deep thinker, and that's why we get into it a lot because he questions a lot of crap that I say,
Yeah.
which people should question most things I say. I do agree with
Marcus
that.
Aurelius is my favorite.
Who is that?
Marcus Aurelius.
You know who that is?
Yeah, he definitely knows it.
Well, I don't know who he is.
He was like the greatest emperor.
Read Meditations. It's a good book.
Short.
Didn't I talk about that on a podcast that I don't read?
Yeah, you should read.
I know how to read.
Or at least do Audible.
Yeah, no, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's really got to get my interest. I've read some political stuff. I think
You would like Mr. Smooth. That's a good book. You would like.
the last book I read, it's not gonna get me in trouble. People are like, what? No, I actually
cares?
no. I read Tim Tebow. Read a Tebow book, and I read a book by Joanna Gaines, and her husband. And I did read Going Rogue by Sarah Palin.
You
Oh.
should read like books like from experts, like about topics that you're interested in, instead of just the person.
Can I?
I find celebrity books are cool sometimes, but they can be a little.
So I've got
surfacey.
some medical issues as the reasons why I don't think I read very much, and I'm gonna tell you what they are. Okay,
ADHD.
that's one. That's a big one. But the black text on the white background,
Are you dyslexic?
no.
Oh.
But it bothers my eyes because I have the sinus stuff. It's just like look, I mean, it's hard to stare at. So I don't like the computer screens. It gets
Audible is a huge thing for me. Like you say, you listen to talk
yeah,
radio.
absolutely.
When I'm doing windshield time, it's Audible time.
Same here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I love
Audible.
Audible.
And I have a wide range of stuff. I like what you just said about experts. I do that a lot because they really dive deep into whatever topic you are.
Yeah.
I do a lot of stoicism, and then I do a lot of biographies. I like to listen and learn about people, and historical stuff. So those are kind of the things I do.
Yeah.
I like business books as well, but I listen to a variety of books at the same time and try to tackle them all through. But I listen to no more than 3 at a time because you get too many, then you get really spread. But I usually listen
I need to do that.
to 3 at a time, and I'm trying to be real consistent on that because I do a lot of windshield time, and so, and the radio has so many commercials anyway, so I just rather
No,
listen
it's
to-
horrible. I'm tired of hearing the same.
Yep.
Buy here, pay now.
Yeah.
The reason I want to tell you about Going Rogue with Sarah Palin, a lot of people go, she's a quack, whatever. But her book was about how she became the nominee, and it was really a really cool story, and it gave you a lot of insight to her. Like I think her mom or dad was a teacher. Like they were all just, it was really, really good. And it was like where she was when she got a call from John McCain to be picked. So we're talking about behind the scenes stuff. I enjoyed that. And that book did that. It told you all the behind the scenes stuff, how she got picked. And then when they were on stage, the VP, the whole convention and stuff. So I thought it was pretty interesting. But the Audible thing I need to do.
Audible is great. On a celebrity book kind of thing, I like Jimmy Carter's book was actually an interesting.
Really?
book. Yeah, that was interesting. I read Art of Deal by Trump. Was the
read it?
very first book I ever read. Really like read when I was younger. Like when back in the day when we were looking at him on the business side, because
Yeah,
I was
sure.
like, I want to be an investment banker and move the
Yeah.
And so I remember reading that. And that one inspired me because of just the way it was written. The guy that wrote it for him, it really just, like, it was deal by deal by deal by deal. It's a fun book to read. So on the celebrity books, those are the ones that I enjoyed.
I've got books behind me.
Good
Yeah,
to
which
Great's
ones have you
good.
read?
What's that?
Good
Which
to
ones have
Great.
you read? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah.
You see this book here.
Condoleezza Rice, yeah.
Condoleezza Rice. What did I do? I got to page 1. No, I got to chapter 2. I got to chapter 2. Yeah, I need to finish that, right?
So a step that I've been doing, that I'm in a book club that we are reading a book called Free to Focus, and it's teaching you how to focus, and it also plugs into a journal that you use is the Full Focus Journal, and so it's a whole system of knocking out your big 3 every day, and it's a real good system.
Okay.
One of my daily routines is my nightly routine. It's like you build these routines. One of mine is that I guarantee myself to read at a minimum of 2 pages of a book before I go to sleep. It ends up being a lot more, but I set that goal easy.
Well, you enjoy reading.
Yeah. I do and don't. I'm
Okay.
kind of like you, where I look at a page and it was hurting my eyes. But actually, when I got older and I had to start using these, I can read better now.
Oh.
And so
I am supposed to read. I'm supposed to wear readers, and I don't. So
that's
an
what
issue.
your problem is.
Okay.
Because I used to have 20/15 vision, and as you get older, it gets less and less and less. So now my reading, I can still see super sharp. I can read that bison thing over there, but I can't read close up. And so, but I was having that problem. When I'd look at a book, I was like zoning out because I couldn't really focus on the book. Once I started using readers, I could read better.
Oh wow.
And now I read, and I'm turning digital off before bed. I'm trying to stay on that focus thing.
Sure.
And it's working for me. So, and actually making some progress on some books on the reading side, doing it that way is helpful. But Audible is a massive thing for me.
I'll
As
check
far
it
as
out.
accelerating, and you can read it, it accelerates it too.
Oh, so it's a faster, like
You can speed it up to I think two times, right?
I'll feel like I'm listening to Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, if you go too fast, I do it. I think 1 1/4,
Okay.
so it speeds it up a little bit because some books are pretty long,
Good stuff.
and so. But yeah, that's
Joe, I'm going to put your information in our stuff below for people to check you out because I know that you do coaching and you consult people and you work with small people, companies, and large companies.
Yeah.
And now you're a world traveler with the.
we're hoping to go to Colombia and Chile.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so we're working on those.
Heck yeah.
Right now. I got to get my Spanish skills up though, because I can understand it. I can't communicate it back.
Oh yeah,
So I'm just quiet.
yeah. When I'm in another country and I don't speak it, I just point at the stuff and go.
Well, I
"That."
have Elio with me, so he's the master at getting wherever we got to go.
You know, I've never met that guy,
Oh, you need immediately.
but he seems like just a great personality, entertaining, high energy person.
He's a great story. Came here 11 years ago. Didn't speak the language.
Oh,
Learned
wow.
the language. Created a business. Now he's very successful. It's a great story. A great American story.
Sounds like I need to
Came
bring him
from
in here.
Cuba. Straight over here.
Wow.
It's a great way to show people that's still down the country. Say, okay, a guy comes here with nothing, and look what he's done.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Inspiring.
You know,
Joe Hancock, Moxie Media. Thank you so much, my friend.
it was fun.
Great information. Thank you.